Kamara, Indira, Callie,
Here.
Ariana,
Here.
Alex,
Here.
Abby,
Here.
Joe,
Here.
Brielle,
Here.
Caitlin, Armine,
I'm here.
Levy, Pam, Isabella, Kira, Lily,
Here.
Soraya,
Here.
Pen,
Here.
Ramon,
Here.
Gabby,
Here.
Savannah,
Here.
Andrew, Addie,
Here.
Carter. Alright, so today, to start off, our focus is obviously area. We are going to be doing a brain dump for 5 minutes on area. So if you want, take the next 30 seconds, just kind of get your thoughts together or look over your EOG review page that was passed out. And I will let you know when it is time to get started. Alright, go ahead, open up to your brain dump page. There you go, 5 minutes, non-stop writing. that's fantastic. You guys have a minute and a half. I don't know why people are sitting not writing. You write for 5 minutes straight, nonstop, about whatever you can remember. Alright, pencils down. Alright, who would like to share one thing they wrote either about area or the coordinate grid? Alright, Andrew?
Multiply only two sides.
Say that again?
Multiply only two sides of the
Okay. And that's when you're finding area? Okay, what else did we write? Soraya?
Area is the inside of the shape.
Y'all gotta speak up.
Area is the inside of the shape.
Okay. Alright, what else? Isabel,
For the coordinate grid, x goes before.
gotta speak up.
For the coordinate grid, x goes before.
Okay. Alright, what else?
When finding the area of a triangle, you use base times height divided by 2.
Alright, what else? Ramon,
Starting point equals the origin
on what?
on coordinate grid.
And what are the coordinates for the origin?
0, 0.
Perfect. Alright, Andrew?
multiply base times height.
For,
Length times width.
for, what shape?
That's triangle divided by 2. Half of
Does that make sense? Okay. Alright, what else? Elizabeth?
Label the coordinate grid's quadrants.
So if I was labeling my quadrants, how would I label them? Anybody? Cam? Fantastic. Does one start like over here? Does one start over here? Does one start over there? I mean, like,
The top left. is
Right.
coordinate.
top right.
Top right.
Or if you're confused about Roman numerals, this is 1, it's 2, 3, and 4. Alright, what else? Anything else? Alright, Cam?
Bottom equals left times width.
Say it again.
Bottom equals left times width.
You're right, but we're not doing volume today. Just area. We'll save that for Wednesday. We're doing volume on Wednesday. Alright, Gabby?
The 1 plus base 2 times height divided by 2.
So base 1 is 2 divided by height, you said?
Yes. Well, times height divided by 2.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, it says base 1 plus base 2 times height divided by 2.
Okay, I just wanna make sure. Cause I don't know. What's another way you can find the area of trapezoid if you don't know the formula or what it means? How else did you learn?
You can split it in, well, depending on what type of trapezoid, you can split it into a triangle and a square.
Okay.
Rectangle.
Alright, so we can decompose into triangle and, alright, anything else? Yes,
Quadrant 1 equals positive, positive.
okay, so plus, alright. Let's keep going with that, what else do we know? What do we know about quadrant 2? Alex?
It's
Negative, positive, what do we know about quadrant 3? Callie?
negative, negative.
Negative, and what do we know about quadrant 4? Rio?
Positive, negative.
Alright, so let's go ahead and move on. Good job today with your brain dump. I know it's Monday, I know it's early, but you guys did a pretty good job. I'm sure there's more information that you have written down, but so far it's been a good start to our day. Better than most Mondays that we have, right? Alright, so when you find the area, what kind of shapes are you dealing with? 2D or 3D shapes? 2D or 3D shapes? Ben? 2D. Alright, so 2D shapes. And what kind of shapes are 2D shapes? Sorry?
They're like flat shapes.
Alright, so we have a triangle, and one of you guys over here told me that the area is base times height divided by 2. We have squares and rectangles, and the area for that is length times width. We have the trapezoid. Which you can decompose or use the formula. Alright, what other shapes do we have? You guys remember this shape? What's the area for that shape? Or first and foremost, what is that shape called? What's that shape called? Here? Nope. Nope. Lily? Yes. This is a parallelogram. And does anybody know the formula for a parallelogram? Addie? Right. Base times height, length times width. Trying to think. Those are really the basic shapes that we kind of talked about when we were finding area. Do not forget about decomposing your shapes. You can take a piece off and move it into, make a square, make a rectangle, make 2 separate shapes that you already know the formula for. This one and this one, you should know like the back of your hand. It should not even take you a second to say what's the formula of a triangle. Every hand should shoot up because by now you should have this memorized. Same thing with a square and a rectangle. If I say what's the area of square and rectangle, you should be able to tell me immediately what that formula is. All shapes are based off of squares and triangles. So if you know the formula for those 2 shapes, or rectangles and triangles and squares, let me say it that way, you should not have a problem with finding area. might make you have to do a little bit more work, but at the end of the day, you should still be able to. Because if you don't remember the formula for a a parallelogram, what can we do with our parallelogram?
Decompose it.
You can decompose it right here, and then take this shape and move it over there, and you end up with what kind of shape? A rectangle. Okay, so again, do not forget, I know we learned that like the third week of school. So I know that was a long time ago, but don't forget about that. All right, anything else for our notes, for area? No? All right, so let's talk about the coordinate grid real quick. You guys did a really good job of doing this during your brain dump. So this is Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. This is our X, this is our Y. And then tell me again about my coordinates for each quadrant. So quadrant 4, what do my coordinates look like? Quadrant 4. Andrew? All right, quadrant 2. Alex? Quadrant 1. Gabby?
Positive.
And obviously quadrant 3 is going to be negative. Ramon told us that the point where you always start is in the middle, and this is 0, 0. I think that's it, y'all. Anything else you guys feel like we need to put into our notes that will help you?
That X always goes first.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead and turn the page then. You need to label the next page area, or finding area on a coordinate grid practice, and then math around the room. And we're gonna be working on this page. So get that page out. I think I passed it out to everybody. Give me a thumbs up when you have this copied down. All right. So this page has a little bit of notes for you guys just to refer back to when you are finding area on a coordinate grid. So it says you can use absolute value to help you find the lengths of your sides, because you do need to know what the sides are if you're finding area or perimeter. So it says a rectangle has these vertices or corners. What are the lengths of sides AD and AB? Obviously, what's one way that you can find the lengths? Andrew?
Cut squares.
Right, so you can count the squares and you just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this side is 6. And then 1, 2, 3, this side is 3. So that's one way. But what happens if you don't have a coordinate grid to essentially count? What's absolute value? Refresh my memory. It's absolute value. Andrew?
Is if you have a negative number, the absolute value would be the opposite, would be a positive number.
Okay, so like if our value for -3, what's the absolute value of -3?
Positive three.
Positive 3. Alright, go ahead, babe. So over here it just says AD is parallel to the x-axis. I'll find the difference between the x-coordinates of points A and Z. AB is parallel to the y-axis. I could subtract the y-coordinates of each point, but one of them is negative. That's where you have to figure out like the whole absolute value part. So these are just kind of notes on how this person would have found the value of each side. And then obviously once we know what our values are, how do we find the area of that shape? How do you find the area of this shape up here? Or let me rephrase that. What kind of shape is it? Let's start with that. Addie? Alright, and Addie, what's the formula to find the area of a rectangle? Length times width. We just do 6 times 3 is 18. Alright, now you're looking at a parallelogram. So this gets a little confusing because you cannot count slanted sides, can you? Can you count the slanted sides? Like, can I count from like here to here to here to here to here? Because it's a slant, so it's not a straight line. So this is where it's kind of important for you to be able to understand absolute value, and also to be able to understand like if you're decomposing and how you find the height of a shape. You guys remember that way a long time ago? So your height, if this is my shape, obviously this is my base, right? How do I find the height? You guys remember, think for a second. Obviously we can't use the slanted line. So what's another way that you can find the height? Abby?
Like a line that's at a right angle with the base.
And you're looking for a line that looks like this. What do we call this? Starts with a P.
Perpendicular?
Yes, you are making that perpendicular line. So remember we said that the height is always going to be identified as that dotted line. So this is another way that you can find the height of a shape. It's got to be perpendicular. All right, so this says write the coordinates for each point. And they started with D. So D is -4, -2. Rewrite that because you can't really tell. All right, what about A? What's the points for A? What's the points for A? Elizabeth?
-2 and +1.
Yep. What's the points for B? Ben?
+1.
Huh?
+3, +1.
I can't hear you.
+3, +1.
Okay, you guys you can just say like, if it's a positive number, just say 3, 1. You don't have to say +3, +1. The only time you have to like identify if it's a positive or negative is if it's a negative. All right, and then C. Alex? 1, -2, yes. All right, now if I was asking you to find the area of this parallelogram, how would you do that? How would you find the area of this parallelogram? We know that it's going to be base times height. How would I do that? Gabby?
So, you can either count the squares along the top or bottom to the base,
Okay.
and then if you count go down to the line, you'll find your height.
Okay, so I'm gonna go 1, 2, I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, so the top is going to be 5, and then from the height, I'm gonna go 1, and then 1, 2, so that's 3. So it would be 5 times 3, which would equal 15. Does that make sense? Questions about where I got my 5 or my 3? What did I use on the top line to figure it out? What did I use? Because I did 2 and then I did 3 and I added them together. So what did I use? Callie?
The blocks.
Yes, but there's something else. It's called something else. What did I use there? I'll give you a hint. We legit just talked about it in the one above. Just talked about it in the one above. Andrew?
Absolute value.
Yes, I found the distance from the point to the axis, or to 0. And then I just added them together. Alright. Slide down to the last one. So this one says you can use coordinates to find a polygon's dimensions and area. The diagram shows a triangular garden. Each unit represents 1 yard. What is the area of the garden? Good. Alright, I'm going to be very honest with you. I have no idea what any of that says. So we're just going to take the points. So B is -2, 3. A is -2, -2. And C is 2, -2. Alright, so I want you independently to find the area of this triangle. Remember, your formula for a triangle is base times height divided by 2. When you have your answer, stand up, please. Alright. So what is my base? What is my base? Marianne? 4? Okay, what strategy did you use to figure out that it was 4? So you just counted. You just said 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. All right. Did anybody else use a different strategy? What did you use, Soraya?
I did the blue box on the top.
So you counted the lines essentially, or you used kind of like absolute value. Okay. No problem. Did you get 4 as well? All right. Perfect. What is our height? What's our height? Abby,
5.
and what strategy did you use?
I needed to have 2.
Okay, so you did 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, and you got 5. All right, so what do we do from here? We know our base, we know our height. What do we do from here, Caitlin? I what?
The base and the height.
Okay, so I do 5 times 4, that gives me 20, and then what do I do?
Divide by 2.
And that gives me what? 10. All right, thumbs up if you got 10 units as your answer. All right, so over here, you guys are gonna be working in your groups, okay? So it says plot the points and connect them, then write the name of the shape and find its area. So the first one is done for you. You have the points, they plotted them. The type of shape it is was a square, and then they found, I can even talk, found the area by doing 3 times 3 equals 9, which is length times width. Okay, so you guys are working on this front 5 questions. All right, any questions before you get started? Are you working independently or as a group? As a group, get started. You have to deal with it or can't proceed on it. Bless you. guys have about 2 more minutes. About another minute. All right, let's go ahead and go over these questions. All right, so look at number 1. So your coordinates are -5, -2, or sorry, -5, 2, -5, 6, 6, 6, and then 6, 2. So someone please tell me how I get to point A. How do I get to point A? Ben?
From 0, go to the left 5 times.
Okay. And then up 2? Alright, so I'm gonna be in the middle of -4, -6, because they're increasing by 2s. Alright, so this is point A. Alright, how about B? How do I get to B? Andrew?
You go from 0, you go left 5 times, and then up 6 times.
Alright, that is point B. What about point C? What do I do? Someone other than Ben and Andrew. Alex? Can't hear you.
From the origin, we go right 6 times. Or not 6 times, go to the 6 from the
Okay,
go up to 6.
right there. And then the last one, what do we do? Someone other than Gabby. Someone other than Soraya today. Mara. Right 6, up 2, and that is D. Alright, so what kind of shape did we just make? What kind of shape did we make? Okay. A rectangle. Alright, and then what is our area? Or what's the formula to find the area of a rectangle? Start with that. Sophia. Alright, so what is my length?
You can figure it out because we didn't know if we counted the half or
It's not half though. It's not half, because remember, we're increasing by 2s. So the number in between -4 and -6 is what number? -5. So it's technically, if we're doing absolute value, it's 5 to 0s, And then from here to here is 5, and then from here to here is 6. Does that make sense? So then, how do we figure out what the value of that line is up there? What do we need to do with 5 and 6? Y'all, we've been doing good. Do not die right now. Like, do not just give up. How do I find the total of line B, C with 5 and 6 up there? What do I do with those two numbers? Levy. Yes, so what is 5 plus 6, Levy? 11. So I'm going to do 11 times, what's the value from C to D? What is the value from C to D? Lily?
2.
No. Why is it not 2, y'all? You have to look at your numbers on your number line.
Because there's a number between 4 and 6. So our number is technically 4.
Right. I mean, and you're increasing by what? 1s or 2s? 2s. So this is going to be 4. So you're going to do 11 times 4, which gives you what? So this is 44 square units. All right, let's look at number 2. You have -3, -4. You have 5, 4, and you have 5, -4. Please tell me how to get to point C. Addie.
You go to the left, yeah.
Okay. And then what?
And then, you go down to the 4.
Okay, so this is point C. All right, how do I get to point D? How do I get to point D? I mean, I heard conversations going on, so it's not like you weren't working. Alex, speak up a little bit. I can't hear anything you're saying. And up 4. So to the right 5 and up 4, which is like right here. Okay, that's going to be D. And then the last one is E. Andrew.
You go, wait for E,
Yes.
you go right 5,
Uh-huh.
and then down 1.
All right, so this is obviously what shape? Your favorite? All right, so this is a triangle, so we know that our formula is going to be base times height divided by 2. What is my base? What's my base here? How many do we go from this point right here to the line? How many do we go? Don't tell me a half, because there's not a half in there. Ben?
2.
Nope, because it's in between two numbers. Levy? So what two numbers is that dot in between?
3.
Well, it's in between -4 and -2. So what's in between -4 and -2? -3, but we're counting absolute values. So that's 3 from that point to the line. And then from the line to point E is how many? How many? Because again, it falls between numbers 4 and 6. What number falls between 4 and 6? Everybody should be able to tell me that. I don't need you to tell me that out loud. Ramon. Son, focus in, child. What number falls between 4 and 6?
5.
So this line, if we needed to figure out what our base was, what do we do with that 3 and that 5? What do we do with the 3 and the 5? Sophia, we're gonna add them. So 3 plus 5 equals 8. All right, and then we're gonna do the same thing with our height. So from this E point to the line is how many? It's how many? Gabby?
4.
And then from the x-axis to this point is how many? Or we can just do independent work for the rest of the time if we're not gonna participate. Like, I cannot continue to call on Gabby, Andrew, and Levy at this point. Again, you are simply skip counting by twos. So go from this line and skip count till you get to that point and raise your hand. This is absolute laziness, y'all. 100% laziness. If you're looking at me, you're not doing what I just asked. Raise your hand once you have determined how far from the x coordinate to that point is. One, how far is it? It's 4. It is not that difficult, y'all. Stop being lazy. Don't do it. What is 4 plus 4? 1. 8. So we are doing 8 times 8. What's 8 times 8? What is 8 times 8? 1 again. 64 divided by 2. One more time. You ready? What is it? 32. So you have a triangle. And 64 divided by 2 gives you 32 square units. All right, let's look at number 3. Tell me, how do I get to point J? How do I get to point J, Callie?
You go to the left 5 times,
Okay.
and then go down 5 times.
All right, how do I get to point K? Bryson. Over which way? To the left?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go 3 to the left and 3 up.
Yeah.
All right. What about point L? How do I get to point L? Marion.
Like 4, down 8.
Down 3 or up 3? Okay, so to the right 4, up 3. That's gonna be L. And then how do I get to M? How do I get to M? And 0. To the right 2 and down 5. Alright, be careful when you connect the dots to this one, because this one can throw you off just a teeny bit. So what shape is this? What shape is this? Joe?
Parallelogram.
Yes, this is a parallelogram. And since it's a parallelogram, we're doing base times height. So what is my base? How do I figure it out? What is my base? Got it? Okay, what's the base?
You count either the top or the bottom flat surface.
Doesn't matter. Whichever one. Wait, what'd you say?
Count either the top or the bottom flat surface.
Right, which one do you want to use? Okay, so what's the distance from point K to the y-axis? Yes. Y'all speaking too quiet this morning. I didn't put my hearing aid in, so you gotta really speak up. All right, and then from the y-coordinate to L.
2.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Oh, it's 4.
Okay. All right, and then Addie, what is 3 plus 4? 7. All right, so our base is 7. Now, I would recommend you use this point right here to figure out your height. So we're going from essentially -5 to the line, which is going to be how much? What's the absolute value of -5? Elizabeth?
5.
5. And then the absolute value, well, I guess it doesn't matter for there because it's positive. So then you're going from the x-axis to this line, which is in between your 2 and your 4. What number falls in between 2 and 4? Levy. 3. Levy, what is 3 plus 5? 8. So then I'm going to do 7 times 8 equals, Major, 56. Whew. All right, last one. So y'all do it together. All right, so we have N, O, P, Q. Please tell me how to get to the point N. Point N. How do I get there? All right, Bryson. Okay.
Go to the left 6.
Okay.
Down
All right, so that's point N. How do I get to point 0 or 0? Point O. Sorry. Ariana, how do I get to point O?
You go to the left 6 and
All right, how do I get to point P? Isabella. So I'm going to go to the right 2, up 6. So this is P. And then how do I get to point Q? Faith, how do I get to point Q?
You go to the left 2 and down 4.
Alright, so what shape is this? What shape is this? This is a trapezoid. Now, there are a couple of ways that you can solve this problem. Personally, what I would do to make it super easy, I'm going to cut this side off and move it over here and make it what kind of shape? So this part is now gone, so what kind of shape did I just make? Ramon? Rectangle. So be careful. What is the length of this side right here? From -2 to 6. What is the length of that side? Gabby? 8. This side equals 8 because you're doing -2, absolute value plus 6. Alright, and then what is the length from -2 to -6? What's the length from -2 to -6? Elizabeth? -2 to -6? What plus 2 gives you 6? 4. Alright, so we are simply going to do 8 times 4 equals what? 32. Alright, do not worry about this bottom question down here, question number 5. Alright, look at the back. You have 1, 2, 3 questions. This is your homework for tonight, which is 5, 9. These 3 questions, technically, there's 5 questions, because there's 2 within each, but, this is your homework, so number 1, number 2, and number 3. Alright, take this, and I want you to glue it in so you know. I want you to glue it in because I do not want you to lose it. Alright, if you did not title the next page, please do so now. Alright, as you can see, if you look around the room, I put up word problems. These are all area questions. Okay? I do not want you to write on them, obviously. I want you to write in your notebook. I'm really not sure. I'm gonna have you work with a partner, one only if you want to. If you do not want to, you do not have to. But you are going around and you are just doing math around the room. You do not have to write the questions, you do not have to annotate the questions, you just have to complete the questions. Are there any questions with what you're doing for the remainder of the class period today? What number was that, Cam? 10? All right, go ahead, if you're working with a partner, you may get with them and then pick a question to get to. If you're working by yourself, you can just pick a question. Please number them with the number that I just wrote on them.